This program has been brought to you by Assyrians for Education, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. If you would like to support this kind of programming, please visit our website at www.assyriansforeducation.org to pledge your financial support, or email us at romina@assyriansforeducation.org. Thank you.
Dachi, how to. How to change the flooring in your house. שלום עליכם חזיان مغبة أنا إيفان رومينا جوناس بشنتيتون الخرز داخي بقارة أوديو إيلة داخي كم سغزوزن مزي دخلون وبخابخلون غجانا قد جوابت دا بقارة بتباقوخ بميقرا جو آيفاندي قد إيلة مارد آيفاندي إنشورنس كومباني وب مستر فيكتور موهيكا قد إلى مارد بروفيت USA. أديب دازق تبقاخن بدني تريبور سوبر قد بتحاجي بعض مجوزيزن مزيدخون خامخلون رجانا. Mr. Arvanetti and Mr. Mohica, welcome to AMB.
Thank you very much.
Joe, would you please say a few things about your firm and your expertise?
I'm a financial services professional with 4 years of experience. I have 3 legs in my business. I do life insurance and annuities. I make businesses more profitable through 11 approaches using tax credits and business expense reduction programs. And then I also do wealth preservation.
Thanks. Victor?
Well, I basically have been in the industry for over 30 plus years, and I've learned to team myself up with a lot of key attorneys that are also CPAs. So we could understand the tax code, because most people only utilize like 300 pages of the tax code, but with their 72,000. So what I try to do is simplify it for the average person, that if I can teach you the legal way of keeping more money, I think that you can manage the money better than giving it to the government.
Sounds good. As far as wealth preservation, let's say I am an individual. I work for a company. I own a house in San Jose, and how do I increase my assets, and how do I protect them?
Well, one of the easiest ways to increase your assets is basically to free up more from taxes, because in the tax code that you can free up tax money that normally would go one direction. Even as an individual, you can get a tax credit type programs that will offset your taxes, which means you don't pay any taxes. Perfect example, Jared Kirchner made $350 million but paid 0 taxes because he has the people that guide him to not to pay the taxes. So in your scenario of living in San Jose, a lot of people that I work with bought the house for a low price. Now it's a huge price. Even after the exemptions, you still have to have the capital gains tax, the state tax, and California is one of the largest in the country. And also there's the Obamacare tax, which is a net income tax, which is an additional 3.8%. So when you add that together, it's a lot of dollars. In fact, I just worked on a case this morning. The guy paid $260,000 for his house, but now he's selling it for $2 million. Even after all the exemptions, he's still $500,000 of taxes that he'll have to pay next year. Well, through my strategies, I put an extra $400,000 back in his pocket.
Okay, and what's your strategy?
My strategy is actually working with his key attorneys that understand the tax code, that if you follow this, if you don't do nothing, you're going to end up paying a bunch of money in tax. If you do something, you're going to be able to keep that money and work it yourself where you're in control to make you more money. And the simple scenario of not paying the tax and making that money work for you, just at a 5% rate of return, which is easily to get in some of the vehicles that we have, will give you 5 to 6 times more money down the road than not having that money.
Okay, so what would be some of the examples? Like, I don't understand the tax codes. I don't understand financials. All I know is I go to work, I come home, I have a house, and I want to protect it. So what would be, give me some examples.
Well, some of the
how do you
examples,
do
like
it?
for example, that with this client that I work with today, basically instead of having to pay the tax this year or the following tax year, depending on when the transaction occurred, we can defer it 30 years down the road. At today's tax rate, not future tax rate.
Oh, okay.
So that, because when you look at the tax scenario of the United States, it just reached over $22 trillion. That's a lot of money. So in order for us to keep that thing going, taxes have to go up. So you save on the taxes, but you have the money to invest in other vehicles that are safe, secure, and you're in control. So down the road, your tax will be minimal, but the profits you made on that savings is huge.
So the profit's like 250,000. I don't have to pay taxes for 250,000 now, and it will be deferred. I'll pay them in 30 years.
That's correct.
Wow. What if I don't live that long?
Well, the good
Goes
thing
out
about
the-
the tax code, if you don't live that long, stepped up basis and it disappears.
Really?
Yeah.
So then your children end up with a lot more money. So it's,
What a great strategy.
It is, and
I
it's
didn't even know about that.
well, one of the things that you look at, he said, a lot of people don't realize it,
Yeah.
but you've heard of Office Depot, right?
Yes.
Okay, Office Depot bought Office Max, which is one of their competitors, a few years back. It was a $1.7 billion transaction.
Right.
They implemented these rules, and then you had to pay no taxes.
Wow.
So the thing is that and it's very interesting to see that the tax code applies to the same people up here as you down here. The difference is that you don't have the people to guide you properly, and that's where I come in, and I've been able to save millions of dollars for individuals, and the result is it changes their generational of the family because they have more money to work, and if they're smart about it, generation upon generation keep getting better because you start understanding the money fundamentals that the people that are controlling the money have been using for hundreds of years. So that's only a 5%. So I prefer to guide people to the 5% strategies than being a 95%er that, like your conversation when you first started, you work hard, get a paycheck, taxes, this, that. If you just change the way you think and the way you apply things, you will benefit, your family will benefit, and that's why I focused on trying to educate the younger generation to create this value, and if I guide them in the right path, money will never be a problem for them.
Let me give you an example. Let's say that you sell your home and you net $1 million. If you're in the 30% tax bracket, you're looking at paying $300,000, and you only your profits are only $700,000. You go through the program that Victor and I have, you net $933,750, almost $250,000 more today at closing than you would have if you paid the taxes right away. And then we show you how you can take a little bit of that money, put it into another investment so that in 30 years you have it to pay the taxes when they're due. So you saved on the front end, you have the power of time to make your money grow, and you've also set yourself up and your family to pay the taxes when they're due.
So what are the mechanisms as far as I take the money and I put it into what?
You put into an insurance product
Okay.
that
For
nets
example?
you 5% a year. And at the end of 30 years, if you had took $100,000, about 10%, you would have $430,000, more than enough to pay the taxes in that example that I gave.
Well, one of the things that he's talking about, one of these products that we look at, is basically they have fixed guarantees with no risk,
Okay.
number one. Number two, the vehicles have averaged about 8% last 30 years because they're put in vehicles that have no risk. They only have the potential, the upside, but no risk on the downside. Along with that, if you get sick along the way, it frees up all kinds of money. So if any type of terminal illness, chronic illness, critical injury, critical illness, and if none of these things happen, the guarantees are for a lifetime, so money will never be an issue and you don't have to rely on Social Security because you took care of it yourself.
Okay. So, and it doesn't matter, the insurance part, you say I take some of the asset money, say I want to take $10,000 of the money I made and I put it into an insurance product. What does that mean?
Well, the scenario on that part is that, let's say we saved you $300,000, and if you,
Okay.
let's say we redirect, say, $100,000, because with an insurance product, you're always leveraging money. So you pay this, but if something happens, you're going to get a bunch more.
Okay, so I take that 10,000, I buy an life insurance or some kind of
Well, I call it
insurance,
the
what-
Better Bank account, because this is a vehicle that all big financial institutions utilize, but it's very uncommon to people like us unless we know about it.
Okay.
But Bank of America has over $22 billion in these type of accounts. And one of the things that you have to look at, a lot of people focus on real estate, but banks know about money, right?
Right.
So why would they have 3 times more money in these type of vehicles than they would in real estate?
I don't
So
know.
it makes
Tell me
them more
about it.
money.
Makes
So when
them
you
more-
look at the real fundamentals, and that's why this industry controls all the money in the world, and they've been around for 200-300 years.
Right.
People have never lost with these type of vehicles. So when you look at those variables, and they're always working for you, our focus is always to take this and leverage it to more.
Okay. So Victor, you were telling us about our specialty insurance products. What does that mean in a layman's terms?
Well, it's a specialty product, but it's no different than if you have a checking account and you have a savings account. So you
Okay.
put your money in a savings account because it gives you a little bit more interest, right? But when you need to pay your bills, you need to transfer the money to your checking account, right?
Right.
Well, we create a similar product, but it's not through a regular bank, but it's through an insurance company and a specially designed plan that'll serve like your savings account. And then when you need the money, you request it. But the beautiful thing is that instead of coming out of your plan, your account, it comes from the insurance company into your account.
Okay.
So that way your money keeps growing and it keeps compounding.
So is the insurance company going to lend me money?
They're
Is it
gonna-
like
they're gonna-
using
you're-
my asset as collateral to lend me money on it?
That is correct. So
that's a
just
good
like
thing.
when you buy a home, you get a mortgage from a house, from a bank to buy the house, but the equity builds for you and that's yours. This is the same way with this product. You get to use the money, but your equity keeps growing in the account. So it's a similar scenario, and I've shown people on how to buy houses through this account. I've used it for my kids' education. And the beautiful thing is that these plans are designed by the people that understand things. So if your child goes to college, they have to fill out that FAFSA form.
Right.
So if you have too many assets, you don't qualify for a lot of federal funding.
Right.
Well, this is the only product that's excluded. So you could have millions and millions of dollars in this account, and it's excluded from affecting your child's opportunity for grants.
Wow.
So it's a neat thing. So that way you have the money, but you could qualify for more. Then it's a lot easier to send your kids to school if you use the right tools.
That's a great product.
And when you take money out of this product, it's tax-free because it's a loan from
It's a
loan
loan.
insurance policy.
You'll never pay taxes on this type of an account.
You never pay taxes,
No.
It's tax-free.
but you're still paying interest to the insurance company on borrowing the money.
That's correct, but then you can write it off on your taxes as an investment interest expense. So it's a win-win everywhere you go.
Well, that is awesome.
Yeah, no, the difference between ourselves, when we're talking about insurance, is we're not interested in just selling an insurance product.
Yeah.
We're interested in designing a product for you that meets your needs,
Right.
both today and tomorrow. And that's what Victor has specialized in for the last 30 some odd years.
So it's especially those who have children that are going to go to college. This will be a very good tool. Now, how does that differ from like 401ks, which most people they understand 401ks? How does that differ?
Well, just to give you a little insight, the 401k was designed not for the benefit of the individual. It was designed to benefit the government, Wall Street, and the employer. How does it benefit the employer? It means he pays less taxes and less workman's comp, and so he saves a lot of money if people put money in that account. The government benefits because if you take it before 59 and a half, there's 10% penalty for the federal, 2.5% for the state, plus the tax on the income you took out.
Which I paid actually
Yeah.
a few years ago.
So see that you're not aware, and then until 59 and a half, so there's so many restrictions. So a lot of people put money in these accounts thinking that it's going to result into something, but one of the biggest problems is Wall Street. The average, according to Forbes, which is a recognized magazine, they basically, the average cost is about 4.74% on 401ks. That's if it goes up or goes down, they're still charging you that fee. But just a 1% fee could cost you half of your retirement.
Wow.
So when we eliminate all this stuff and put it in your control with no taxes versus the government control, you'll end up with a lot more money.
And how much does services like that cost?
It's all built in. I don't charge anything to create a strategy to make it work. And if you do, the value that you get is like 100 times better than anything you've ever seen. And the reason is because it's designed for your benefit. You have a lot of protection. You have liquidity of your money. You have flexibility with no penalties or taxes. And you protect your family, so if something happens with a heart attack, stroke, cancer, you don't lose everything because this is going to pay 100 times more than whatever you have in the account.
So are you saying that there's no fee? I'm not going to be charged?
Well, it's a very unique product because a 401k is designed to keep, and the fees keep multiplying. The fees are up front because there's a big risk to the company, but it goes down after 10 years. In most cases, the way I design scenarios, within a 5 to 6 years, everything there is no cost to it because it's working so well for you.
Okay.
We don't charge a fee for designing the product.
Okay.
And what Victor was just describing is in the product itself, by 5 to 6 years, it pays for itself at that point.
I see. Okay. So, okay.
And even the person that designed the 401k, which is Ted Bina, and you could actually YouTube, and he basically has a YouTube because he at 76 he had to go back to work because the product he created did not work for him.
Did not work for him?
So that's one of the things that it's like a lot of the things that are created are to somebody else's benefit instead of you. Just like people put money into 401k and IRAs.
Right.
But they were taking out the money because they had to pay taxes.
Right.
So what did the government come in and say, well, why don't you switch it, and they created the Roth IRA.
Right.
So you pay the tax, but now the government got their money,
Right.
but you won't have to pay the taxes down the road.
Well,
But you still have restrictions for the first 5 years that you couldn't do because you still have penalties. After that, it's tax-free. Well, what if you could have a super Roth with very minimal fees, incredible benefits with no restrictions? And that's basically what we create, a super Roth that's basically excluded from any taxation in the future.
what about the stock market? Like, is one of the products investing in the stock market or not?
Well, investing in the stock market directly, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose a lot of money.
Right.
But I'm sure you've heard of Warren Buffett.
Yes, of course.
Warren Buffett has utilized strategies which is called indexing. So he doesn't go directly into the market. So let's say if you have $100 and our product's earning 4%, so it's $4. Those $4 they use to buy call options. So if the market goes up, you benefit. If it goes down, all you lost is the 4, but you still have your 100. So we eliminate the risk, so we have upside potential with no downside potential.
Okay, so that's part of the product if we're
Exactly.
interested in the stock market.
So if you're going like this, you're not going to take dips. You're going to stay here and then continue. Stay
Right.
here, continue.
Okay.
Where the market's going to go like this, and it's going to take twice as much to get back to even than what you have if there's any major corrections.
I definitely want to talk to you after this. What about one of the things that can help individuals to have tax benefits would be entrepreneurs, right? So have your own business or have a side business. Can we talk about that?
Well, the United States is been structured for entrepreneurs, and the tax code favors having your own business by providing you tax advantages. So one of the things that I do, and Victor does also, is we make businesses more profitable. And we do that through a series of 11 different approaches that involve both tax credits and cost reduction programs. Now, what do I mean by those? In the area of tax credits, for example, say Romina has a business, she wants to hire someone. Well, there's one type of tax credit where you could get somewhere between $2,400 and $9,600 per employee that you hire if they meet the federal criteria for that tax credit. And that's called a Workers' Opportunity Tax Credit. There's another tax credit whereby, depending if you're producing products, if you're a software developer, if you're an engineering firm, an architectural firm, a manufacturing firm, you're producing some type of new product, you could get a tax credit for the employee that you already have. And that's called a hiring incentive. And that tax credit could either meet or exceed the Workers' Opportunity Tax Credit of $2,400 to $9,600. And there's 8 of these type of issues that we could talk at a later time about, but there are those type of tax credits that the business may be able to use to become more profitable. And then we also do audits on the expense programs that the business has. For example, if you have a lot of credit card transactions, we'll audit the credit card company, and we usually find errors in their processing, and can we return that in terms of a profit to the business owner. Same thing with workers' comp. The same thing with, if you own commercial property, we'll audit the accounting records to make sure they're not overcharging. And we have these audit programs because we're a national firm of saved U.S. companies over $6 billion in the last 15 years. We have a large database. Algorithms are tied to both various companies, what they're doing, what type of cost savings we have. So we have a pretty good feel for what we could provide business in terms of tax savings and expense reduction programs.
Now, as far as as a business owner, if we hire veterans, right,
Correct.
there will be a credit for that?
Yeah, veterans are on the higher end of the scale. So if you hire a veteran, you could receive up to $9,600 as a tax credit per veteran that you hire.
And then, but there's a process that
Yes.
it's not just like you go there and you hire a veteran and assume that
No.
automatically you qualify.
No.
There's a process.
There's a process you have to go through. We'll help the employee fill out the federal forms that need to be done. This is all done electronically, and we'll get the employee qualified, and we would help you with your CPA or your tax attorney, your tax planner, to receive that tax credit for that particular employee.
Perfect.
Yeah, one of the great things that we do is that we increase the success of a new person going into business, because if we lay the foundation properly and implement a lot of the tools, it means that you can become more profitable a lot quicker. And a lot of times I coach their attorney or their CPA or their tax professional on how to do things, and then I help them structure what's the best entity for them. Whatever might work, depending on their type of work, on how they're going to be the most beneficial for them.
And to hire your, I'm just going to go back to what will it cost me to hire your company to do this for me, and that will play, of course, it will play a major role in whether I want to use the services or not. And what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there is no upfront fees, but there will be a cost. There will be a share, I guess, sharing some profits or
what we do
cost
is
savings.
we basically show you the options that you have, and if we can increase what you're doing at no cost to you, you make that determination.
Okay.
The companies where we direct you to have the services, they basically compensates us, but it's not out of your pocket.
Okay.
So that way, at least you have something to look at, and it costs you nothing to understand it. So in most cases, if I can do this, this, and this, and increase your bottom line, would you want to hear more? And that's one of the things we do. We have a simple form where people fill out. We submit it, we come back with reports based on your information, not ours. We found that we can put this much money back in your pocket.
Okay.
And the way we do it is, and we go through the steps. So, because a lot of times people focus on what they do best, and that's why they're in business. When it comes to this stuff, they don't really understand it. So we try to simplify it and say, look, these are the things that are required by law for you to have. So if we implement and direct you where you can have the best value and it costs you less, but the returns are going to be much better for you, then you can see the value.
Perfect.
And overall, we're compensated out of the cost savings that we generate. So we essentially work for you at our cost and effort and risk. If we generate the cost savings, we'll take a percentage of the share of that value for the different types of elements that we save for you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. That makes it easier.
Yeah, it's just
Save
really,
me money and I'll give you a piece of it.
Yeah, in fact, in a few minutes I have to take off and have a client that basically, two ladies started a business. They've been very successful doing medical billing, but now they're doing $4 or $5 million a year. They each put about $800,000 in their pocket. What's their biggest problem? Taxes. So right off the bat last year, we saved them over $200,000 in taxes. Now we're implementing other things that will bring more money, but because of what Joe was saying about tax credits and certain things, that's right off the top. So it's money that you keep because the tax credits offset the taxes, so automatically you end up with more money. And if you have more money, you can take more vacations.
Perfect.
Or you can expand your business.
Exactly.
Or you could maybe potentially do something for your employees.
And or have some fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy life.
Yeah.
Great. So anything else you want to add to?
No, it's just that once people see it working, in fact, I have a company down in Salinas which processes artichokes. They have distribution through Whole Foods and all that stuff. But they're doing so well, and once they understood this, most of their employees, that if she's increased the wages, are going into my Better Bank concept because she basically saw this is something that would create great value to my employees versus the traditional type way of doing things.
Nice, nice.
And we also have a program that Victor designed where it benefits the employer, makes them more profitable. At the same time, it benefits the employee. So both the employer and the employee are getting a benefit.
Perfect, perfect. So if we want to have, our viewers want to contact you, you will give us your information.
Sure,
and
we could
put-
provide the information and then we'll ask you for some information. We'll design something. We'll have a conversation, learn about your business, and then we'll design you something that will meet your objectives.
Okay.
Yeah, on a daily basis, I get calls from all over the country. So it's because the concept is different, but it's very easy to comprehend, and they see the value. And that's one of the things that you have to understand. The things that bring a lot of value are real simple, but because of our educational process and the way we've been taught, we overlook it.
Right.
It's just the way it is. So we make it simple. And once you get the idea, you say, "Wow, that's not a big deal."
Why didn't I do this long time ago?
Exactly.
Well, it even took me being in the business, having all the securities license, real estate license, notary, all the insurance license, and so on, until about 4 years ago when I really started looking into it. I said, well, they design all these things for us to benefit, but nobody ever teaches you. And if you ask questions, they tell you, well, you can't do that. I said, well, why can't you do it? You develop products that tell me that you can do whatever we want, like
Right.
what I've been talking about. So, and now I've retrained a lot of the insurance companies to allow me to do things the way that I try to help people, and it's really transformed a lot of people.
Perfect, perfect. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on our show.
Well, it was a real pleasure to be here with you.
And we hope to work together.
Thank
No,
you.
it'll be good.
Thank you. خزيان مغبة اتلهيفي قد مغبة لوخون بروجرام شغلوخون خانسيانا ان تلوخون بوقارة اخنام دعويلان تلفون داني بارسوبة all دا بروجرام كم سيتون قاريتون لون or email ديتون لون پلخيتون منه عبيتون راو باسيمه پوشون بشنه.
This program has been brought to you by Assyrians for Education, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. If you would like to support this kind of programming, please visit our website at www.assyriansforeducation.org to pledge your financial support, or email us at romina@assyriansforeducation.org. Thank you.
Dachi, how to. How to change the flooring in your house.